Over there recording the program today. That's amazing. Thank you, Susie. Full disclosure, I didn't have to do anything for this program. So my advice to you, if you need to plan anything in the future, these are the people you should have on your team. FYI. We also have a program lined up for May 11th, and Susie's going to talk a little bit about that.
So we're doing a technology unconference on Friday, May 11th at the Indian Trails Public Library. So if you haven't been yet, it's beautiful. They just did an awesome renovation. And it's going to be, I'm not sure if anybody has been to an unconference, but you know, we're going to have different topics to talk about, small group discussions, and it's really a program that you guys lead and have some really, so we're hoping it will be a really good day. So Friday, May 11th. And the registration should be up in the next month.
Great, thank you, Susie. Technology instruction. It's huge, it's ongoing, and I think I'm correct in saying it affects our patrons and staff at all levels at any institution. Luckily, we have two vibrant Library Journal 2017 movers and shakers here to tell us how to do it right. Brandy McNeil is the Associate Director of Tech Education and Training at the New York Public Library. Brandy manages tech education for over 89 branches across New York City and has successfully recruited and developed an innovative team. She designed and built 7 state-of-the-art computer labs, tripled attendance numbers for tech education, and established partnerships with some of the world's most prestigious organizations like Google. More importantly, Brandy agreed to come to the Chicagoland area in February to share her wealth of knowledge with us, and that we are very, very grateful today. And today you're on Monica's home turf.
Yeah, go Borden.
Monica Dombrowski is the Director of Digital Services here at Gail, Borden. She comes with over 15 years experience in corporate training and contributes her talent to several local networking groups, including the Computer Class Instruction Group. Monica is known nationally for developing Gail's Toolkit, originally funded by a Carnegie Whitney grant and sponsored by Rails, and now a vibrant resource for librarians worldwide. Please join me in welcoming them both.
One of the things that Brandy and I talked about ahead of time is that as trainers, we're not used to like standing behind a podium and just, you know, hey, here we are and pontificating. So we're going to be out and about, okay? So I hope that's okay with you guys. If you have any trouble hearing me or hearing Brandy, just let us know, okay? So I am a junkie for those home improvement shows. Who else likes those things like Fixer Upper and Property Brothers and like, here you can make anything with like a piece of wood and some glue sticks. So I figured that for my kind of theme, because as a trainer we try to make it engaging, I would do a renovation thing, okay? And I chose renovation because whether or not you think you have a technology program going at your library, you're probably at least doing something, even if you're doing like one-on-one tough help with people. So that's what we're going to go with today, okay? So we're going to talk about permits and blueprints and building materials and contractors and do-it-yourselfers, weekend warriors and closing paperwork, okay? Have you interested? Okay, so let's talk about permits. I want to start by talking just for a second about adult learning basics and giving you a context for what this crazy scheme of mine is based on. When I was a corporate trainer for a long period of time, I ran some instructional design groups for software companies. And I learned a lot about adult learning and how to design training materials around adult learning principles, and way more than I thought I wanted to know. But it came in handy because adults do learn differently than children, and so when you're creating materials and learning experiences for them, you have to make sure that you're including the things that they value, okay? So those things start with freedom within structure, okay? So adults like to have a structured approach. They like to know where you're going to be going, what steps you're going to be taking, but they like to have some room to kind of make their own decisions within that, and we'll talk about how you can make that happen for them. They like to have their experience and knowledge valued in some way. Okay, they come into your classroom just like all of you are here today. All of you probably have some basic understanding or maybe advanced understanding even about what I'm talking about. So pulling that in and using it to engage them during the classroom shows that, hey, I know that you're bringing some things to the table, and let's see how we can use those to help design good learning experiences. Specific objectives. Have you guys heard of objectives before? It's okay if you haven't. Objectives are very important because it tells us what we're going to be able to do as a result of this training experience, right? So I'm missing a great TV show right now to be in this class, right? So what am I going to be able to do better, easier, or faster as a result of trading my time with my TV show for this class? Hands-on activities. Adults learn by doing. We like to be visually oriented first, but then we have to play. If you've ever tried to teach adults anything with a computer, you know that before you can even turn your back for the first time, they're touching the computer, right? So adults like a hands-on experience. It's not enough to just, be that teacher from the Peanuts cartoon that's wah, 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 wah. They're not going to pay attention to that. And there needs to be a practical application. So I need to know, how am I going to be able to apply what you're teaching me to my work? Okay, that's very important. You have to connect the dots for people. And the teacher has to be a facilitator. Okay, so it's not enough for me to lecture, and I call it the spray and pray method. Like, I'm going to vomit a bunch of information on you and I hope any of it sticks. No, I have to be your guide. I have to help you along a learning journey and be kind of, a co-pilot, if you will. Ooh, someone's phone. Okay, so how do we lay the groundwork for that? Well, first, when we're talking about designing training programs, we need to think about what do we need and what do we want to get. So there's series versus one-shot classes. How many of you have heard of a one-shot instruction class? Academic librarians talk about that a lot, and I talked about it a lot when I was an academic librarian, but it basically means, is this a standalone class where the content is such that, we can learn what we need to know in one session, or is it something more complicated that we need to spread out over a series of classes? So things to think about are, how much information is appropriate? What do you want your community to learn? How does your community best learn? Like in my community, one-shots aren't very popular. They are for like new and cool technology topics, bells and whistles, but for anything else, my community likes series classes because we have a lot of blue-collar workers here. We have a lot of folks with low levels of digital literacy, and they like something that continues week after week and continues to build upon the previous week because a lot of them can't afford or find the time to go to college, okay? And how complicated is the topic? If it's something really complicated and you try to squeeze the kitchen sink and everything else into 2 hours, people are going to get lost. Talking versus doing is another thing to consider. Some classes might be appropriate for what I call a lecture demo format, which is a show and tell and kind of watch, get oriented, and some classes are not. If you're trying to learn Excel formulas, trust me, a lecture demo is not going to be successful, okay? And is the tool readily available outside of class? For example, here we teach QuickBooks and we teach Adobe Photoshop Elements, but we don't have those on all 60 of our computer workstations. We have them available, though, on 17 that are inside of our classroom, so we allow folks to go in there and use the software anytime that the class isn't in session. So, sometimes it can be frustrating for people if you're teaching them about something that they'll never have access to because there's a financial barrier or an access barrier. And what to include, how much do people already know? Is there any existing knowledge going on in the community about the topic, and how do you connect the dots for them? You know, how do I get a production supervisor who is being forced to come to an Excel class by his boss to be excited about, well, here's the chart where you can show what your production stats are. And where do you want them to end up? In our community, we are very, very lucky because our district's community college is in this town. So that has, you know, some interesting challenges because like we're kind of competing with them, but at the same time, like, okay, not all of our community is going to be going to community college. So we focus on like beginning and intermediate levels of classes. And we typically will run series classes for up to 7 weeks. And after that, we're like, here, go to ECC and take the next steps. So there's some class types that we organize things into: basics, intermediate, and advanced. I don't think any of this is that revolutionary. But when thinking about designing a program for your library, you know, the basics include the show and tell, lecture demo. Like we have a LinkedIn basics class here, but then we have a LinkedIn series that follows it. And the reason why is because here's a story of failure. I started the LinkedIn class for my community as a hands-on class 1, and they were like, wait, what's that called? Where do I go for jobs? Okay, I'm lost, help, help. And it became such a hard situation to navigate as a trainer after several attempts that I said, let's have LinkedIn Basics as a lecture demo format, okay? So we do that first, and then if they want to continue, which they usually do, then class 2 starts hands-on, because now they have some kind of understanding of what we're talking about. Terms of navigation, introductory concepts, and simple or group activities. You know, like for activities you might be asking questions individually or as the class, or you might say, okay, someone tell me where to go for this in a basics type of class. Now in an intermediate class, it definitely has to incorporate hands-on, because now I know enough where I'm going to start touching stuff, and you probably want me to start touching stuff, okay, so that I can get familiar with what's happening. You're going to focus on specific features and functions. You're going to review the old topics, and you're going to introduce some new ones. And you're going to have some independent learning activities. So this is where there's going to be an activity sheet. You're going to have like a sequential process that you're going to have people go through to reinforce the learning. And then advanced, hands-on again. This is more the bells and whistles. This is like, okay, you know enough to be dangerous now. Now let me show you what it can really do. Okay, this is like the project-based type learning information, and you're introducing more complex topics. So creating the frame, we, as Gwen pointed out, we developed Gail's toolkit here, so we use our own templates, but they're also available for you. And those templates include the design document, which is the lesson plan. Okay, it's fancy, it's an instructional design term for a lesson plan. Okay, so that's the meat where you're really kind of outlining what you want folks to learn and what the instructor should be covering. The PowerPoint, I like a PowerPoint because even though you have to update the screenshots more often than you would like to, it's a great backup. Has anyone ever had their technology fail when they're trying to teach? Yep. Happened to me many times. It's like, where's the PowerPoint? Oh, at least I have some screenshots. The activity sheet is that hands-on portion where you're really helping to reinforce your learning concepts. A handout is what all of you have here. If you did not get one, see one of the LACONI people, okay? But a handout is going to reinforce the key concepts that you're teaching in a class and give them enough information to go and explore afterward, because that's really the point of that. And then a class survey is very important to find out, are your learners having a good experience? How's the instructor? You know, are they doing a good job? A good instructor can make really bad material really good, and a good instructor or a bad instructor can make really good material very bad, okay? And then the templates, like I said, are available on digitallearn.org. And also still our Gail's Toolkit website. So let's talk about blueprints. So this is an example of a design document. If you haven't seen this before, I'll just highlight some things, but you're outlining what the heck is the point of this class and what do I need to run it, okay? So you've got a description, a course length, why are you having the class, what kind of equipment and materials do I need, the objectives, the all-important objectives, and then your topics, your talking points, and your activities. Now when you're writing the design document, you should be writing it for someone else, because guess why? I know I'm an expert in LinkedIn, but that doesn't help anyone else if I call out sick, right? So if Shanna, my assistant, is, oh, Monica called out sick, she has to teach the LinkedIn class tonight. If she doesn't know LinkedIn, she's gonna start panicking right away, right? But if I write it so it can be easily followed by someone else, she's gonna feel a lot more comfortable than she would if all she had was my outline, okay? So to create the design document, you want to look for talking points that are tied to the objectives. If I say that at the end of this class you're going to be able to do a particular thing, I need to teach you how to do that particular thing in the class, right? That just makes sense. You're going to use simple language and correct terms. The correct terms part is a challenge for people. It's a challenge in my community. They'll call me over in the computer center and they'll be like, yeah, this doodad's not working. I'm like, which doodad are we talking about? We have like 5 tabs and multiple internet pages open. So part of digital literacy is teaching people to call things by the right names, okay? So it might be foreign to them, you know, this is a group in Microsoft Office, this is a tab, but you're only helping them to be able to be digitally literate by using the correct terms. You should include 7 or less numbered sequences or any steps that you're providing. I did not make this up. There's a lot of research to back that adult minds like fog out after 7 steps. I'm not saying you can't occasionally throw an 8 in there, but I'm saying as a rule, 7 or less, because as an adult when I see that, oh, it's 7 steps, okay, I follow A to B. And make sure that they make sense, please, people. Okay? Who's ever tried to follow a process and found a step missing? Thanks, IKEA. Okay? So make sure that all of the steps are there. You want to write in a present tense. That's just good technical writing. Thank you, Microsoft Manual style. And note the activities and the time frame. So if you're talking about something, after that, the activity should follow, okay? Because that's how a logical sequence would work. And then please conduct quality testing, okay? You may think that this class is gonna go great and it's exactly 90 minutes and you may have someone walk through and be like, I'm lost, I don't know what's happening. There's a bunch of steps missing, or I only got through section 1 and it's been 45 minutes, okay? So please conduct quality testing. I assure you, there are many people in your organization that would be willing to be guinea pigs for your weird classes, okay? I try to pull in people that have nothing to do with training whatsoever, because those are the types of people who are really gonna find problems, okay? So let's talk for a second about objectives, like I mentioned before. Have you guys heard of SMART objectives before? Okay, good. A few of you have. If you haven't, SMART means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So it means that whatever I'm saying you should be able to do by the end of class, I'm actually thinking you're going to be able to do that by the end of class. Okay, it's not like create a spreadsheet, you know, something ambiguous like that. Why do we need objectives? Because it helps us organize our class content. It provides structure for us to stay on track. And it creates a roadmap for learners, right? Adults like to know what to expect. So I included a couple of examples here. That example, participants will understand how to create contacts in Outlook. Understand is a terrible word to use in objectives. Because I may think I understand that. And you may say, you don't understand that at all. You can't even use the keyboard and mouse, okay? Understand is a very subjective word. So you want to try to use more concrete words that can be measured, like learners will be able to add a contact to their Outlook email account. I can tell 100% if you achieve that objective because I can watch you do it, right? Or you can show me your work. Here's an example of an activity sheet from our Excel working with tables class. So you can see, we bold. Again, it was hard for me to get out of my technical writing background from the software industry, but the Microsoft manual says that you bold the exact words of buttons and specific features in the software, so that's why we chose that style. They should follow every 10 to 12 minutes of talking. So you're probably going like, okay, well, it's been 10 to 12 minutes of you talking, where's my activity? Okay, but this is a lecture demo today, okay? It should support the discussion topic, right? The activity should completely tie in with what I was just telling you I was going to teach you how to do. It should engage the audience. It should be something for them to actually engage in. It should incorporate sequences without gaps like we just talked about. Don't leave out step 6 if step 6 needs to happen. And it should, again, contain 7 or less numbered steps. Now, the presentation should include minimal text, a lot of visuals and prompts, and it should be updated regularly. I'm going to tell you that will be a pain, okay? Shanna and I, my industrious assistant, we spend a lot of time updating PowerPoints, but they have saved our butts so many times when our technology has failed that it makes it worth it, okay? You should avoid wordy text, hard to read fonts. They can look really cool, but the point is to convey information. So if I can't read it because it's like in French script or something, that's going to be an impediment to learning. And avoid problematic color schemes, okay? Now the handout, pretty much the same criteria. The one additional thing is it should be a max of 1 page. When I first came here 4 years ago and I took over the training program, one of my instructor's handouts was a 45-page PowerPoint presentation. And it was multiple slides per page. I was like, dude, no, that is not a handout. That's a very bad example of a user guide, okay? So a handout, again, it should summarize the main things that you talked about, and it should give people, enough information to go out and say, oh, what was that thing again? Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know it could do that. It should encourage learning and exploration after the fact. Okay. So let's talk about people, okay? Because remember how I was saying that a good instructor can make bad content really great? There are some certain things that good tech instructors should have, okay? And the first are some interpersonal skills. If you hate people, you should not be a tech instructor, okay? You have to like them at least a little bit. They can still annoy you, and you can still need your space, but you have to like them a little bit, okay? So you have to be patient. You have to have a sense of humor, because trust me, if you don't, you're going to be so frustrated with the things that go wrong. I've never once taught or presented anything where everything went according to plan. Like, never. And I've been doing this for 20-something years. It just doesn't happen. Okay? So you have to be like, oh, well, that's technology for you. You have to be observant. You have to be able to look around your classroom and be like, what's going on? Ooh, that person on their phone. Okay, so why are they on their phone? Okay, that person is helping that other person. Maybe they need some extra help. You have to have your periphery little radar on. You have to be personable. You have to be able to build some rapport with people. You don't have to get to be their friend, and then you probably shouldn't, okay? Okay, because then you have groupies, which is what I have here. Okay, we have groupies who attend every single class that certain instructors come to. You guys are laughing because you have groupies too, don't you? I see it. You should be encouraging, okay? It's hard for adults to admit they need help. It really is, okay? Especially with technology. I've had people come in crying. This is true. Seniors in particular saying, my kid got me this iPad, and every time I call my kid for help, he's like, God, I've told you this like 6 times. I'm not going to help you anymore. And, their confidence is in the toilet, and their kids ticked off at them, you know? So we really have to be encouraging to people and let them know, hey, you can do it. Even if it takes us 6 times if you've taken this class, okay, you can learn to create a new email. And you have to be an effective communicator. You have to be able to adapt your style to different learners in your class, okay? Some people, hey Melissa, some people won't respond to my humor, that's just my fallback, that's what I do. And so I can't be humorous with everybody, okay? Some people have to be very serious, you know, and that's great, yes, absolutely. But you have to be able to read your audience and know what you need to do. Training skills. Do you like my safari guide? So you have to have someone who can come up with and execute a plan, okay? It doesn't need to be complicated. You don't have to like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, map out this whole training process and whatever. It could be like, okay, how do we find out what people need in our community? Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's create a class. Let's teach a class. Let's see if it was successful or not. Like, it could be that simple, but you have to have someone who can think strategically and make a plan and follow through with the plan. We talked about adapting to learners already, very important. Making things simple. We have a very hard job as tech trainers, okay? The more that we work with tech, the more comfortable we get with it, and the more we can inadvertently tend to think other people, why can't they just get it? Like, but we work with it all the time, okay? And guess what? You could sit and work with tech 24 hours a day and you still won't know everything that's out there. So just stop trying, okay? People think that to be a tech trainer, someone has to have like crazy technology skills and know everything about everything. No. Do you know everything about everything as a librarian? No. But you know where to go to find information. It's the same skill set. It's the same skill set. And you have to involve participants and be aware of and manage barriers. For example, in our Computer Basics series, which starts with keyboard and mouse, okay, I keep a 1-to-4 ratio in that class. So if 6 people sign up, I need a helper, okay? If 10 people sign up, I need 2 helpers, right? Because I know that there's going to be barriers and it's my job to mitigate those. Technology skills, shortest list there, right? You have to be able to want to learn and explore new technologies, okay? Very simple. And know where to go for information. Okay, I didn't put familiar with every app out there. Do you know how many times we have a program here called Device Advice? And countless times people come in and I'm like, oh crap, I've never seen that device before. Oh, please don't ask me how to adjust those settings. And then they're like, yeah, I got this thing from QVC and I don't know how to adjust the settings. I'm like, crap. But you know what? I can look for a wheel, okay? We'll sit, I'm like, never saw that before. Let's sit down and let's learn together, okay? So now let's talk about contractors and do-it-yourselfers. So there's 3 types of trainers that most libraries will use. There's contract trainers, which are professional trainers working outside of libraries. Okay, so they have another full-time job. The pros are that they're very experienced, they already have good teaching skills, and they have specialized expertise. By the way, I'm looking for a JavaScript trainer right now, if anyone knows someone. So they bring a high level of skills to the table. Some cons, though, are costs. You have to pay them extra because they're not already on your payroll, right? They may not have community knowledge. The specialized expertise can be a downside too, right? Because if you only know JavaScript and I also need a Word teacher, there's no versatility there. And they typically have a lot of scheduling restrictions, again, because they have another full-time job. These might be a good fit for your library if you need specialized classes. If you don't offer enough classes right now to justify hiring someone. If you have money in your budget to pay them, because most don't work for free. If you have a lot of evening classes that you think would be a good fit for your community, because they typically work day jobs and then they're available at night. And if you're thinly staffed, if your librarians can't be stretched any further, these might be a good option for you. So where do you find these area experts? Well, one great resource is the Rails Computer Class Instructors group that I and several other people in this room are members of. We meet once a quarter, and we go through all of our new classes that we're offering, what things we've tried that have been epic fails, what things have been a success, and then we're like, hey, does anyone have a JavaScript instructor? Other libraries. I will call and email my neighboring libraries and say, hey, I need someone. Do you guys have anyone that you recommend? Private schools in your area and local colleges and universities. Those particular types of folks, most of them are adjuncts or part-time, and they really love to pick up extra work, okay? So we, in fact, our most heavily used trainer is from the local community college here. So, what do you do to prepare if you want to use a contract trainer? Well, first of all, craft a job ad and a contract, okay? The contract doesn't have to be anything that's fancy or whatever. Mine is literally like a one-page list of guidelines. And it's like, okay, here is kind of what I want you to do as a contract trainer, okay? And post that somewhere. I like to have them come in and teach a little mini class, okay? Because anyone can say, yeah, I'm a great trainer. They used me at like 4 libraries. And then, okay, well, why are you making eye contact with anyone? Why'd you arrive late? Why can't I understand anything you're saying? So when you're hiring trainers, you really want to kind of vet them out a little bit and make sure that they have what you're looking for. And invite a panel. It doesn't have to be a huge panel. It can be 2 people or something. And ask them to be part of the class and assess their skills. I had to do that to get my job here. It was totally reasonable. They're saying, hey, we want you to teach classes. Come in and teach a class. And that's part of your interview process. It's a reasonable request. So when you decide to go ahead and make the commitment to someone and say, yeah, we want you to be on our team, outline the expectations. You know, do you care if they teach at other libraries? Most libraries don't care, but some libraries get territorial about, well, I found you first, so if you want to take on other work, like my classes need to come first. So if you have something like that, you know, discuss it with them. Ask if they mind if you share their materials, okay? Both with other members of your staff who might have to train the classes and digitallearn.org, because we're trying to build a warehouse of classes that everyone training in libraries can download and use for free. All of my contract trainers said, yes, use my classes. We totally want to help the library's mission. So, you know, that might be something to ask them. And how often are you going to observe them? Are you ever going to observe them? Do you care? You should observe contract trainers, though. You should really observe any trainer just to make sure that you're there to, you know, provide support and that you get a read on how the participants are responding. Even if it's once a year, it doesn't have to be that often. And then share your development process and timelines. You know, what am I going to expect? We have a great coding instructor here. True story. She gets her information to us for new classes the night before the class. Okay, not cool, because we have certain templates that we put her stuff in. We need to go through all of it to make sure she hasn't left out any steps. And when you're sending it at 5 o'clock on Friday night for a 10 a.m. Saturday class, that's not cool. So we're working with her on that. But, you know, let people know what to expect. Now there's 2 kinds of do-it-yourselfers. There's tech trainers and there's librarians. Tech trainers are professional trainers working in libraries. Okay, so they're already on staff, but their background is not in librarianship. Okay, it's in corporate training or something else. Pros are that they're experienced, they have teaching skills, again, they have that specialized expertise, but in this case, they have community knowledge too because they already work in your community. Cons are that, guess what, folks, librarians are not the highest paid profession out there. Did you guys know that? Okay, yeah, I didn't think you did. So professional trainers make a lot more money typically than librarians. So cost can be an issue because sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I totally want to join your organization. You're paying $50,000. So it can be an issue. Also, not having an MLIS could be an issue. It may not necessarily, but they may not have that understanding of our professional tenets and our mission and things that we're trying to do, okay? It can be hard coming from the corporate world where nothing is shared without paying a price for it. And it can impact staffing flexibility. If I'm a trainer without an MLIS, I may not be able to fill in on the reference desk, and that may be a model that you need at your library. Just depends. But they might be a fit for you if you don't have any in-house training expertise. You know, if you need to get a program up and running because there's high demand in your community, a tech trainer might be the way to go. If there's a high demand for classes, you have plenty of librarians to where you don't have to use that cross-training model. And you want new ideas and insights. That's one of the benefits that they can bring. They're not coming from the library world. Sometimes they can be like, why are we doing things like this? And does this really make sense for our community? Librarians, they have master's degrees in library or information science. So pros are that they have that understanding of our professional tenets. They're already on staff. It allows you flexible staffing because you can use them in multiple places. And they have that community knowledge. But they may not have any teaching skills. That was the case when I came here. We had a lot of librarians with time on their hands and no teaching skills, okay? They may not have specialized expertise. They do, but it's in library science, right? It's in like reference resources or collection development. They may not want to teach. There was some resistance here to teaching. We had to have a 3-hour therapy session with our librarians to help connect the dots and help them see, hey, you're already teaching. You're just not calling it that. You know, there's no reason to fear being in a classroom in front of people. And they may have conflicting job duties, right? I can't work the reference desk and teach a class at the same time. I would love to clone myself, but that can't happen, okay? So, as is the case now, our librarians are very busy with a lot of these external projects, which means I can't use them as much for classes. But they might be a good fit for you if you want flexible, tech-savvy staff. If you plan to provide them with some professional development, okay? Like, don't just be like, you're gonna go train, bye, have a good time with that. If your budget's tight, if your patrons drop in regularly for tech help, you have a lot of that going on, you might wanna have some librarians that can also train classes. And if you serve a community with low-level digital literacy skills. Which one is right for you? I can't answer that. Most libraries I know use a hybrid model, okay? Most libraries I know will use at least 1 or 2 contract trainers, but they'll also use librarians, and they also might use tech trainers. So you have to know your community and know your budget and where your library wants to go and make those decisions. But let's say you want to develop your librarians, because that's really cool, you guys develop your librarians. There are things that you need to do to help get them comfortable with the idea of being teachers, okay, and with getting them set up to teach their first class. The first one is in the planning, okay? So limit the number of attendees. Like, we allow 16 in our tech classes. The first time a librarian teaches, we limit that to like 6, right? Because you're already terrified. Even if you're great at speaking in front of people and doing presentations in front of the board and whatever, you get in front of a classroom of people who are going to ask you questions you may not know the answer to, you're pretty terrified, okay? So limit the number of attendees. Have them teach something familiar that they already know, okay? Don't throw them in to teach coding if what they really know is, you know, how to use OneDrive, okay? Like, it's gonna create some panic there. Use a volunteer. The volunteer may be an actual library volunteer, or it could be a staff person that's sitting in to kind of help them and make them feel comfortable. And prepare additional activities, because everyone has that one person in the class who's like, I'm already bored. I already did this activity like 3 times, right? Because you always have someone who's really lagging behind and someone that's really far ahead. And that can be really intimidating for people when they're first teaching, not knowing what to do with the person that's ahead. Okay, so prepare some additional activities. Practice with them. Do a dry run, okay? I give all kinds of talks and presentations. I did a dry run of this presentation, okay? Because that's what a good trainer does. You make sure that you're prepared, you know what your timing's gonna be, and that you can anticipate things. Get them comfortable in the space, okay? Who's ever gone into a room to do a presentation or a class or something and like, oh crap, I can't work this equipment? Where's IT? Where's IT? Oh, we don't have IT? Oh crap. Okay, let me press this button. Oh no, it went away. Okay, so get them comfortable with the space first. And role play questions. I'm not advocating per se to be a jerk, but I will tell you that I will frequently play the disruptive participant card, okay, when someone is trying out a new class on me. Because you help people think on the, right, Shannon? Right, Shannon? My assistant knows. Done it to her. Okay, because people can get tripped up really easily if you throw them a curveball. So if they're getting some experience with curveballs, it helps them to think better on their feet. Okay, so right before the class, you want to prepare the environment. Make sure the technology is working. Did you guys see us doing that when you came in? Yeah, prepare the environment. Make sure that the area is clean. Okay, that it's well lit, that it's inviting, and that it has minimal outside noise to the most of your ability. We have piano playing here all day, every day on Thursdays. And the piano is in the rotunda right down the hall from the training room. Okay? So I try not to schedule classes until later Thursday evening after the piano playing is done. Because while it's beautiful, you can only hear Amazing Grace so many times in a row from a varying skill level of piano playing before you're like, okay, dude, I can't concentrate on this activity anymore. Remove the barriers when people come in. Greet people, okay? Hi, how are you? Thanks for coming. Even if you're an introvert, which many, many librarians are, no one has to know that, okay? You have to have a work face and a personal face. If you see me in a bar outside of this place, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm on my phone, I'm in a book. But if you were to see me in a bar on a work-related thing, I would be circulating the room, right? Trainer hat versus personal hat. Engage in casual conversation. You know, how are you doing? Thanks for coming. Is this your first class? You know, anything that can build a little rapport with people. And respond positively to negative self-talk. That's really important because a lot of folks that come in are really, really intimidated about taking a tech class, especially if it's their first time, and you'll hear things like, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do in this class because I don't know anything about Excel. My boss told me I had to come. You got this. It's totally fine. Over the next 6 weeks, I promise you, you will learn Excel. You can do this, okay? It's a great opportunity for you to pump people up, you know, which is that cheerleading role we were talking about earlier. And outline what participants can expect so that they know where's my roadmap, where am I going? Then you have the blood, sweat, and tears, okay? So this is what happens during the class. Stick to your schedule. If it's a 90-minute class, try to make sure, bless you, that it's 90 minutes, okay? If you have an incredibly disruptive participant or things just are not going as you planned, bless you again. You know, maybe 10 minutes before the class is over, you can say something like, okay, I know we're supposed to end in 10 minutes, but I have probably 20 more minutes of information to cover. So if any of you are interested in staying, we can finish that up, or feel free to leave if you need to go, okay? There's no crime in saying, hey, we got a little bit off track, but, you know, kind of giving them some options is a good thing. Cover all of the topics. The first class I observed when I came here was a contract trainer, and he had 2 columns of information, and it was care and feeding of your PC. Okay? He got through half of column 1 in an hour and a half. And he spent most of the class pontificating about how he despised a particular website for computer parts. He did not work for us again after that night. Okay? cover all the topics. People get pretty ticked if they think they're gonna learn all this stuff and then you stop halfway through. Think on your feet, right? Stuff happens, okay? You just got to be okay with my plan may get derailed at any moment, and put your librarian hat on and say, or your technology hat on if you're a tech person, and okay, I'll figure something out because that's what I can do. Keep participants engaged. Okay, little stupid things like how many of you have been like this, making eye contact. If someone's like on their phone or something, I like to go and stand like right by them and be like, hey, you understanding everything? Right? And manage disruptive participants. I could teach a whole other class on this, and I had to teach it to librarians here, because people are terrified. What happens if somebody gets behind, or what happens if somebody keeps saying nasty things, or it happens, right? So you have to address that time up, because there's no greater loss to people than when one person is disrupting the entire class. Now, if it just happens one time and they move on, that's fine, but if they're continually disruptive, you've got to deal with them, people. Okay, so after your class is done, then you want to inspect your work. So you can use in-class and post-class assessment methods. In-class is, that's the activities we were talking about, the walking around and interacting with people, looking over their shoulders, seeing what's going on. And that helps you see if learning has occurred and shows comprehension and allows feedback between you and your participants. After the class, we use a post-class survey. And you can use ours, but if you want to develop your own, you should limit the number of questions. Keep the score ranges small. When I first joined my last software company, they had 10 options. I'm like, dude, okay, what's the difference between 7 and 8? Like, really, what's the difference between 7 and 8? Give me like strongly agree, neutral, slightly disagree, strongly disagree. That I can work with. And use plain and simple language, okay? Make sure that they understand the question so that you can get out of it what you need to get out of it. Okay? So here's an example of our class survey. So there's 2 categories. We ask about the instructor and we ask about the content, because we want to know, okay, did we even write a good class? Like, did you learn anything at all? Like, was this valuable to you? And then we want information on the instructor, especially because if I'm paying someone extra money to come and teach the class, I want to make sure that they're doing a good job for you. Some common hazards when you're first starting out: content issues, not enough or too much. The timing could be off. I could finish what I think is a 90-minute class in 30 minutes and then go like, okay, bye. Or I could be running too long. Wandering. I don't mean like, people physically getting up and moving around. I mean, people wandering with their attention, right? Hi, now I'm looking up theater tickets on Google instead of paying attention. And guess what? In 3 seconds, I'm going to ask you, oh, I don't understand. Yeah, because you're ordering theater tickets on Google. Okay, so watching for that wandering. Losing your audience, okay? Either because you just got really off track, or things are way too dry, or you're trying not to throw up because you're so scared. And technology fail, right? Talked about that. Don't worry, it's only a pilot, okay? I swear I call everything a pilot until I've taught it like 4 or 5 times, and I know that people like it. Because guess what? Not everything is gonna succeed. Who's heard of a learning circle? Have any of you heard of learning circles? Okay. So a learning circle is basically when you get people together to do an online class simultaneously. And you just kind of guide them, and you might even take the class yourself. So we tried that here, and it was an epic fail. Epic fail. Okay? We all got locked out of the class after the 2nd week because the fine print said must sign on to modules within first 2 weeks. What it meant was complete the first 2 weeks of the modules. And because we didn't complete it, we were only partway through, we all got kicked out, okay? So then Shanna and I had to go find another online digital scrapbooking class, of course for free, to finish out the class, okay? Not fun times, but guess what? That was a pilot, And we have since written our own digital scrapbooking classes, so we don't have to deal with that again. That pilot was a fail. So some closing things. Remember what technology is and is not, okay? Technology is a tool, people. The pencil and paper used to be the tool, okay? Technology is not the goal of anything, it's a means to do something, okay? Avoid free puppy syndrome. That's what I call it when, oh look, I went to a conference and I visited all these booths and like, oh look, oh have you heard of this? Oh have you heard of this? Have you heard of this? Oh I need to download and try these 10 new things, okay? Just because something is out there doesn't mean you have to use it, and it doesn't mean you have to know everything about it, okay? Don't take every puppy that's free, just the really cute ones. Invest in resources so that your staff can learn, be it bringing people in for presentations, sending them to local groups, whatever it is, you have to be willing to invest in your people. Allow time for on-the-job learning and play. Okay, it's very important. If we're expected to help people with stuff, we're also expected to have a life, okay? So my life should just consist of, okay, I'm done with my work day, now I'm gonna go home, and for the next 12 hours I'm gonna troll the internet for every new technology thing out there, okay? So let people do it during work time. Encourage staff to connect with peers. It's great that you guys all came today. If you didn't meet someone new, I encourage you to meet somebody new. Okay, I know it's hard for us, because we're introverts, but you can do it, okay? Connect with peers, get someone's email address, and even just email them after and be like, hey, what kind of tech programs are you gonna try, or what are you doing at your library, and get some ideas from each other. Build relationships with community partners, okay? Go and find where are the resources in your community. Talk to your Chamber of Commerce, Kiwanis, Rotary. I've done presentations for all of those groups on what we offer at the library. And in some cases they're like, hey, we could throw a little money your way, to help with something. Great, just by going out and talking to people. So find out, typically your executive director and deputy director, if no one else, will know where the community connections are and see how you might be able to build some partners for your area of service. And reach out to large organizations. Comcast, for example, I got hooked up with them. I'd literally been on the job 3 weeks, and they're like, we want you to meet with Comcast. And I'm like, okay, about what? Are we doing some kind of internet TV here or something? And no, they're trying to find a partner to give some money to for some tech classes. Sweet. I don't really know what's going on. My head's in my butt still because I just started. But I met with Comcast. They've been a grant partner for 4 years now. They've provided us with laptops to give away for our events. They sponsor classes for us every year. You can go to Best Buy. I know the Apple Store comes and does trainings at other libraries. They haven't agreed to come out here yet because they say it's too far. But I know they go to places like Skokie and other libraries that are closer to them. And expand your toolbox. Go to things like this, okay? Especially if anything's free or it's really relevant to your area of service. Go to PD stuff. Networking groups like we talked about. Read, watch, and listen. I asked the computer class instructors group, what are your favorite tools for keeping up with new technology? And this is the list that they came up with. And you guys will all get a copy of this presentation, so don't worry. Download courses. There are 80, Shannon, how many? 85? 85 pre-made technology classes with all of the materials we talked about available for free on Digital Learn. Okay? So you can download the courses and your learners can take courses there, and so can you. And edX, Coursera, the other free online MOOCs, those are great. That's how I taught myself digital scrapbooking when my plan went horribly wrong, okay? I found a free online class and I taught myself. And go visit the tech stores, okay? Go to Best Buy, go to Apple, go to Microsoft. I didn't even know, I know, I should have known, but I'm going to admit to you, I did not know Microsoft had a store until 1.5 years ago. Yes, epic fail on my part. But I went and I made a new friend. She's like, hey, I'm the manager of community engagement. Where are you from? Oh, Gail, Borden, we've heard of you. Is there some way we can partner? We're having a tech fair here next week. We'll see how that goes. That's a pilot, okay? See how it goes. They're coming and they're providing like 3 or 4 free Microsoft Office Suite software packages just for people to come as raffle prizes. Great. So go and visit your tech stores. They may have stuff for you.
I'm going to let you know now, there might be some technical difficulties. I have some videos that I want to show you, but I don't know if they're going to work. So you guys know how that happens with videos. They might work, they might not. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So that's me. That's my info. You can take it down. You can call me if you need to. You want to talk about something, tech stuff, definitely do that. The Twitter account, the first one, that's our Tech Connect Twitter. And then the second one is actually my Twitter. But I actually run the Tech Connect Twitter. We don't have a person to do our social media, so that's me too. So you're essentially reaching me either way. So who am I? So I'm gonna give you a little background on me for a little second. So in the first picture, that's my son and me. That was us in Toronto. My son is gonna be 16 this year. If you have kids and you have a 16-year-old, you know what you're dealing with. Yeah, so that's rough. And then we have Barry Allen. That's the new addition to my family. Barry Allen, he's so quick, he's so flashy. Yeah, that's Barry Allen. Then we have my mom. My mom recently had 2 strokes. And so I take care of my mom on the weekends. And so that's my mom. Then you have American Express. So my background is actually in global training. So I used to be up at 1 o'clock in the morning with Singapore doing training. And so I used to do that at American Express. And then we have my doctorate degree. So that's what I'm currently working on. So hopefully I'll get that and I can be doing some other things out there in this world. And then I also run a business. So outside of doing what I do for the New York Public Library, I also run my own business. And I also went to go see Black Panther. Yeah. That was the outfit. It was a great movie. I'm sure you guys know that. So that's just a tad bit about me. So what have I done at the New York Public Library? So essentially what I've done is that it didn't pop up. Interesting. So the graph went away, but the numbers are there. So that's the important thing. So I basically took them from 40,000 attendees to 124,000 attendees. And we did that in about 3 to 4 years. Okay, and what I'm gonna go over today is how you guys can think about some of these ways and these things to do, the things that we did in order to do that. Now, my question is, how many of you actually have control of the tech training that happens at your branches? Okay, that's good. So then some of these things will be easy for you to do. The ones that don't have control, what are you guys doing? So somebody that didn't raise their hand. IT, okay. So then you're gonna listen and ingest what we're saying and hopefully help the other people get to this goal. All right, so where did I start? So NYPL didn't have a central structure when we first started out. Everybody was kind of doing their own thing. So you could go to one class for Microsoft Word, and that was their presentation, that was what they did, and it was like, okay. And then you can go to a completely other branch, and it would be a whole different thing, whole different presentation, everything. So we needed to change that right away. And that means that we needed to create a standard curriculum for everyone, which is somewhat difficult in dealing with 89 different branches, but we got it done. And then awareness. So I don't know about you guys, but I think one of the biggest problems we have, especially as a library system, is just awareness. We do so much, but people don't know about it, right? They don't know. I mean, I don't know how many times I walked into a room and it was like, oh, you guys have computer classes. Yes, we've had them for about 20 years now. Yeah, we do that, okay? So, one way to do that, in my brain, is to think like an entrepreneur. That's what you have to do. Because then you'll run it as though it's your own business, and you'll think differently, and you'll have a different mindset. And that's how we were able to get to the goal that we got to. First thing is branding. Coming from American Express, that for me was huge. So I knew, well, you can't leave home without it, right? We all know that line. And so branding was really important. And so what we ended up doing was actually first coming up with a name for our program. And that became Tech Connect. So Tech Connect is known all throughout New York City now. Why? Because we have a color scheme, we also created a logo, and we have that name. And then what we did was we actually took that everywhere. In any and everything that we did, that color scheme, that logo, you knew that you were in a Tech Connect class. So here are some ways that we did that. The first way was by inspiring staff with paint. Hey, yes, the person that painted is in the back. Right, so we took out chairs and we painted the offices. Because one of the things you have to do is inspire your staff, and you want them to say, yes, Tech Connect too. And that was one of the ways to get them to want to do that as well. So they live and breathe Tech Connect, right? You're seeing the colors, you're in it. That little white thing on the wall is actually a keyboard that's like melting. And so this is one of the ways that we started. And that says Technology Connects here with a little plug. The other thing is to have spaces that incorporate that. Okay, there it is. All right, so in some of the rooms, you'll notice that what we did was keep the same color scheme throughout. So we've got paint, you've got the logo, you've got the wording, you've got the seats, and it's consistent through all the labs that we actually have. And so something as simple as just having the paint and doing that is a way to start building that brand identity for people to recognize your program. Also, if you have tchotchkes, if you're giving away tchotchkes, do this. Like, we put it on everything. I mean, we've got little squishy computer things, and it says NYPL and Tech Connect. Flash drives, anything that we have that we give to patrons, it has it. Same color scheme throughout, like, trust me, they're gonna notice these things. The other thing you have to do is engage your staff. And so we do a variety of the things that you see listed, but there are a couple of things that you might not necessarily know what they are, and you might be like, well, what's an open tank? So I'm gonna tell you about it. So what we do in an open tank, I get together tech trainers in the different branches, and we have them come together, and what I do is I purchase technology. I go right over to Best Buy or Who's and Ever, and I purchase some new technology. And then we have 2 days of play. Do nothing but play. It's not structured, it's just open play. Can we create a program using any of this stuff? On the last day, what we do is we actually discuss it. Okay, well, here's what I found with this. This seems doable, this doesn't. We had issues with the computer when trying to do this thing. And we're able to think about what are new programs that we might be able to offer to the patrons, because we've now had some time to do this. And for us, this is key because it's really hard to get that many people together at one time in order to do this, especially when you have as many branches as we have. So that's one way. And then all the other stuff should be pretty regular. Quarterly tech meetings, that's where we get together every quarter and we have tech instructors meet. We let them know new things that are going on, they can let us know what's going on. We kind of do some surveys sometimes to get a sense of what are people doing out there, what are people coming for, what are they seeing. And what I love about it is this is the opportunity for us to get to know the tech instructors, right? So it's different than going to one of the network meetings and being with library managers, and you kind of get to hear what library managers think and then what the people who are actually doing the classes think. So for us, we kind of do it both ways. And then buy-in. Buy-in is going to be huge. How many of you guys have issues with buy-in? Some of you? Okay, that's good. For the ones that don't, yeah, tell them to do everything you want them to do. Do it all. So for us, buy-in is huge. Because we are the New York Public Library, a lot of things have to go through a lot of channels, and we need to get those approvals. And so these are some of the key constituents that we speak to. Now, when do we speak to them? On a consistent basis. So whether you're setting up meetings every other month, once a month for certain ones, like IT, we meet every 2 weeks. But maybe your government affairs department, you only need to meet once a month. But what we do is we actually just go over, here's what we're working on, here's what we're thinking about, and then you get to hear what's on their plate. So for instance, if IT is rolling out some type of new system that's going to affect most of the library, that's good for us to know. Because we might want to launch something new, and they're like, oh, we're not even going to have the staff to help you do this. And we need to know things like that. So it's good to have meetings and constantly get buy-in on the things that you're doing. It also helps because you never know when somebody's going to be in a meeting with somebody important. So that happened for us. Okay, so when we had government affairs, had a couple of meetings with a couple of different key constituents, and they offered to give us money to build a lab. But they thought about it because I'm constantly meeting with them, right? I don't let them forget about Tech Connect. I'm constantly meeting with them. So it's constantly on top of mind when they go to meetings. I'm sorry, the pictures aren't working. I don't know why, but we do know why. So, hiring and upskilling. So that picture is a picture of all of my staff that you cannot see. What are some things that you can do in terms of hiring and upskilling? So for us, I'm gonna go over the kind of what we did, what you can do, or some things up at the top. You know, that's shadowing. So how many of you guys do shadowing now? Anybody? One. Okay. So shadowing is a good thing to do. What we do is we have other staffers, so tech trainers, come and they actually see one of our tech instructors teach a class. That's good, and you can also flip it and have someone come and see them do it who might be slightly better, and they can help and give tips and pointers and things like that. So shadowing is a good thing to do. Allowing staff time to learn is key. You have to, so it's great that, okay, you want them to teach advanced Excel. They went to that class, the trainer maybe, and they learned Excel. Now can they use it? Are they able to actually get the time to practice? Or are they always, at the desk doing something and they never have the time? So you have to allow them the time. So one of the things that we do is we give about 4 months on my team to allow them to learn something. So that's scheduling and carving out hours during their week to allow them to do this. What are the ways they can do it? These are some of the ways. So you've got so many different free services. Do you guys have Linda here? Yep. So we have them use Linda. I'll have them go to training. So for instance, when we decided that we wanted to teach Photoshop and Illustrator at the New York Public Library, I didn't have people that necessarily knew it. Definitely not enough. So I sent them to training because that was something that I determined was important and they need to go and learn this. And so then you have other things that you might want to get into. So we started to get into coding, but I'll talk a little bit more about that next. But that's something that you might want to think about too. You can do free coding, so codeacademy.com is a way to do that free online, and it's fairly easy. And then maybe you can start up a coding program that is going on at your branches. The central curriculum. So I told you we guys did this. Now, this for us was a huge undertaking because we have, I think now it's over 100 different classes. So to kind of keep those materials updated all the time is really hard. And so we actually did an RFP, got an outside vendor to come in and kind of help us. We guided them, here's what we want, here's what we need, here's the outline, and work with them on everything. But we needed that because we needed it to be done in bulk. So that's what we did. We also have virtual classes. We have the one-on-ones. How do we do the virtual classes? We work with an organization called Self-Help. Self-Help actually has, for those who are homebound, they have special computers that people are able to log into, and they can actually watch the classes and do the work on the computers. And so that's how we're able to do our virtual classes. And then we have other things, like handouts in various languages, having the handouts online. Patrons can get them at any time. You guys can go to our website and get them at any time and watch or use them for your classes. So that's key as well. We also have hackathons and meetups. So if you're able to, you should incorporate them into your program. How many of you guys do series-based programs? Oh, not that many. If you're doing series-based programs, what we do is halfway through the program, we break it up. And then we have all the different classes get together to meet up and either talk about the stuff that they're working on, maybe have them, like when we do coding, we do a hackathon and they have to hack together. We have a partnership with an organization called Shapeways. How many of you guys do 3D printing? Oh, good enough. How many of you guys are doing the printing yourselves? Right. So, here's what we did by doing Shapeways. Shapeways allowed us to actually have them do all the printing, and then they ship the products to the patrons. So that way everybody is doing something, creating something, and they get it within a couple of days after they create it. Because I don't know about you, but it takes a long time in our branches to sit there and wait for one thing to print. So now imagine having a class of 15 and you're waiting for each project to get done. Too much. So we just asked Shapeways about the partnership, and it worked out, and they were willing to do it, and that's what we did. You can go to shapeways.com if you want some of that information. And if you want to connect, I can actually connect you with them. But what's great is that through them, they have a big facility where they have these big printers. And so we were able to not just do plastic. We were able to actually do metal. So this ring I'm wearing, it's a lion head because NYPL is all about the lions. And this is printed, I don't remember the material, but it's remained like this color like for a couple of years now, and I've had it in all types of water. So it enables them to print ceramics, right? So you're not just doing your same old, your basic things. You're able to do more. So definitely reach out to me if you guys want that information. And then we also do daily challenges and exercises. So it's one thing to have somebody come to your class, and then you do it and you think they know it and they kind of, did that skill, but do they really know it? And so having daily challenges either in your materials or having exercises that you stop, have them take a break and do is good to have. How many of you guys use Articulate Storyline? No. Captivate? Okay, so this is going to be something that I think will be interesting and something you might want to think about. So what we did was, using Articulate Storyline, we're able to actually have and create assessments for people to test themselves. So one way that we can do that is a pre-test, the other way is a post-test. And we actually use it during our series-based classes. And so a pre-test will let them know, they can go right on our website, oh, should I take this class, am I ready for it? That's great, because how many times do we have people coming in that want to learn the advanced thing, but you're still learning how to use a mouse? And so you're not quite ready for this, right? And then they still want to sit in, and then they want to ask questions. So this can help them to guide them to see, okay, am I even ready for this class? So pre-test, post-test, what did they learn? Did they learn what they were supposed to? But one of the key things about it is, now you have data. And data is what you need. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always looking for a donor. And donors want data. And now we have the data to say, here's how many people are increasing their skills after they've taken our classes. And that's going to be a big and huge key component for you guys. So you guys, I heard some of you guys offer series-based stuff. So we do, and we noticed that we have a huge intake of people wanting to do our series-based programs, but we only do several things in series-based. So what we have is one thing called Make It, Print It, Sell It. And that is our Shapeways partnership. And what they do is they actually get to learn on how do you make it, how do you use something like a mesh mixer, Tinkercad, and then you get it printed, and then we actually teach you how to sell it, right? So it's about them becoming entrepreneurs. My whole vision for our program is that people can be creators. I want all New Yorkers to come in, whatever you're taking, you can either do something to enhance your career, but to be able to create something, not just go to a class for class sake. So that's Make It, Print It, Sell It. In office readiness, that's where we teach the Microsoft Office skills, but at an extremely high level. Like, we actually have people test into this, so that way we can see and make sure that people are at least starting on the same path. And the testing is not like a difficult test. The testing is essentially like, can they click the mouse? Do you know what a browser is? You'd be amazed, a lot of people do not know what a browser is. They might know how to use it, but they don't necessarily know what a browser is. And so we test them on their comprehension, so we do not allow them to access any questions. You come in, you take a seat, you follow the instructions. That helps you right there. If they can't follow the instructions on the screen, that tells you something. And so maybe they're not right for this particular series-based program that you know is gonna move really fast. So that's one way. But we don't just leave them there. Like, we give them, okay, so go to these classes, here, you take these, this will get you up to the point where you can actually get into this program. Then we have Design 360. That is our graphic design where we teach Photoshop and Illustrator. And then what we do is we combine it with our Make It, Print It, Sell It, and we do an exhibition. So the exhibition showcases the work that each of them do in the classes. People love that, right? So it's not for us, which I'll show you in a couple slides, it's not just about teaching the classes, it's about making them feel like I've done something. I've accomplished something big. They get to invite people, so people come out and see their work. We put it on Eventbrite. Do you guys use Eventbrite? No? Some? Kind of? No? Do you guys advertise your classes on Eventbrite? No? Kind of? Sort of? No? Okay. So in New York, I mean, I guess you guys can imagine it's big, so we actually use Eventbrite because a lot of folks use it, and so that helps us to get even more attendees to our classes. So, rewarding. How many of you guys have a rewards program for your tech trainers? Okay. So, so we created the iTech Awards, like the iPhone, but iTech, okay. Anywho, so what we do is we actually have a committee that we selected. It's made up of a group of several different people at several different levels. And here's the thing. This is where kind of take something and be that entrepreneur in you and do that thing you want to do and just see how it comes out and see whether people will vibe with it and see if you get buy-in. Because we do have bigger programs where, you know, they recognize people and, you know, the federal award and all that great stuff. But what about us recognizing our own people? And so we just decided to start up the iTech Awards. We went to HR, we said, hey, we think we want to do it. They said, okay, so we did. And so we actually take a look, we have them submit a form, it's a Google form we created. They can submit themselves, their manager can submit, anybody can submit. And then from there, we actually sit in a group and we go through all the applications and decide like who we think from each network is the best. So we have 9 different networks. Sorry, 8. And so that's what we do. What are some other things? So you guys ever have like where in school your kids did the whole got quit being good? Even doing some things like that, a simple thank you card that's written out to someone who's done a great job, you'll be amazed at how they feel when they get that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know you were watching me do this great thing. Do that. I also award my staff, right? So this is the kind of, the iTech Awards is the bigger, you know, scope of things. But I also award my staff, and we have what we call a Tosker. And it looks like a little Oscar, but we're Tech Connect, so I put T on it, and we're Tosker. I love naming things. So we have a Tosker, and the team gets to decide each month who's going to win the Tosker, who's doing that outstanding thing. And it's great because it's everybody voting for that particular person. So those are some things that you might want to think about. And then there's websites. How many of you guys have dedicated websites for your tech classes? Anybody? Oh, back there. Okay. Kind of, sort of?
Sort of.
And what do the websites have on them for patrons?
Like the classes and handouts.
Classes and handouts. Anything else? Okay. So here's what we did. So I'm going to try to see if this comes up on the screen. But if it doesn't, I'll tell you about it instead of showing you. And so you probably can't read at the top, but that site says google.com because it's a Google site. Even though our website from NYPL is actually through Drupal. And the reason for that is because we needed to build something, and we were like, no, we need to be able to interact with our patrons. They need to have a place to go in order to get our materials, but not just get our materials, do other things. And so using Google Sites, which is pretty easy to navigate and create one, we created this. And so what people are able to do is they're able to go into our website, and if they want, they can find, we highlight several programs that are running, and they can click on those and complete an interest form, which is just a Google form. That interest form stuff is amazing, because then you can email people who are interested in a certain program, and then you already have a built-in audience. You already have people who are going to show up. You're not trying to get people to show up. They're already interested, and you already know that. Then we have, if you look below, what's your tech profile? And so this is where people can go through, using Articulate Storyline, a series of questions that will guide them for, okay, we think you should take these set of classes based on what they think the preferences are. And if you scroll down, there's some other things like the videos. So we actually have videos of our patron stories, and so I'm gonna mention that in a second as well, but that's also part of our marketing ploy. And then we have other things like our program. Do you guys use Canopy yet? Anybody? Yep, okay, a couple people. So we have our Canopy program where we have, free streaming and things like that. So people are able to come and see a lot of different things rather than, okay, here's a class, I just take a class. So now you can actually interact with them. Resources, they can go in, they can get resources that will show them other websites they can go to. Surveys, right? Do you need people to complete their surveys after a class? Sometimes, I know with us, we don't have time to do a survey afterwards. But we can say, oh, you can go online and complete that survey after you're done with the class, so that it's not done during class time. In addition, there's other things like about, they can see who we have partnerships with, get more information on our series classes, and then test yourself. And what we love about our test yourself, it's that whole thing that I said with Articulate Storyline. So we have a couple of classes, you might want to test yourself to see if you're ready for that particular class. Now, I don't know if this is going to work on Firefox, but we're going to see. If it doesn't, no, it doesn't, because it says you need a plugin. Okay, so hold on a second, let me come up. Click the allow now. Boom, boom. Yes, thank you. Okay. So you can mute it if you want to, but it does have audio. And people are able to go through. This is Julian. We selected a bunch of different people. We're in New York. We had a variety of people. And it tells them the rules, right? So here's how many questions you'll go through before you failed, essentially. But we don't say failed. Like, we don't want to be harsh. And so it's interactive. And so you'll drag it. So I'm going to drag it because I'm a pro at this already. Yeah. Okay, so I got that right, of course. But then it's the reality. So if you took a connecting things to your computer class, well, how are you going to go back and know if they know how to connect things? And so they get to drag the USB and say, okay, she said put it in the USB slot. Which one is that? And you can select it and it goes in, and then you can see if you got it right. And so this is an example of creating kind of interactive assessments that can help not only just for pre-test, post-test, but just even the patrons after completing a class and they want to go home and make sure and try. And so this is something that can be done. Now, if you guys don't know Articulate Storyline, you can use Captivate as well. It's very easy to learn. Not only is it easy to learn, but you can also contract it out. Maybe you get a few bucks, or you explain to someone who you need to, hey, here's the buy-in, here's the reason why we need it. And then you're able to contract someone out to come and build it for you as well. So that's an example of connecting things to your computer. We have things like privacy. So we show like emails. How many of our seniors are getting the emails about spam emails, and they don't realize it, and they click and they go on, they're like, but I clicked this email and I opened it and it did this, and I gave them my information because they asked me for such and such. And we're like, no. And so when they actually complete this one, it shows up like a fake email. And we say, click on the areas that let you know that this is a fake email. And so you can do that when you're going through that training. And all the trainings are pretty much like that. They're interactive. It's basically, instead of putting somebody on a computer and saying, okay, let me see that you know PowerPoint, it looks like they're in PowerPoint when they're doing this quiz. It's just that they're really not. And so you guys can use this. This is our website. You can use it for your classes when you're doing them. And if you want to test people and have an assessment, by all means, go ahead and do that. Then I told you guys about the What's Your Tech profile, so I'm just going to show it briefly. Right, so they can answer a couple of different questions. Maybe they use it to send money. I'm just clicking at this point. And it's going to go through a series of questions. When they're done, like I said, it will say that it'll let you know kind of what your tech profile is. So because I'm just clicking and there's no rationale to it, it's like, okay, wait a minute. And then it'll calculate the results. And this is using Articulate Storyline as well. This is the creative user based on whatever I just clicked. But you'll notice that it tells them, like, here's some classes that they can take. And so they can jot down and say, you know what, I want to take these classes. Or they can decide not to, but they can do that. Another thing that we did was also to create kind of a handout for people that's similar, right? So not everybody, right, if they're actually having trouble using a computer, they probably can't go on the computer and click all of these things. And so if they do, we have a What's Your Tech profile that can be printed. And so basically how this works, once again, it's helping people to self-select. On the top, you have your different categories, right? So maybe you want to focus on a category you actually want to learn. Okay, so I want to know all about computers, I'm going to take classes off of that. Or maybe I want to learn about digital devices, so I'll do that. But maybe you don't want to learn it that way. Maybe when you took the test, you found out that you were a particular user, or you determined, you know what, I'm more of a curious user. You can then scroll through and see what are the classes that you should take based on that selection. And so at the end of the day, the website becomes more than just, oh, let me find a class to go to. It's interactive. People can really start to kind of connect with you in your library and feel that you have more than just, oh, it's just a class that I come to and that's it. So that's one of the things that we were able to do with this. So now we're going to go back to my... Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah. Yay, thank you. I love IT people. Okay. So good with that? Okay. So then marketing and promoting. So for us, we do a lot of different things. So I have some things at the top that you can try to do. But I'm going to talk about what we kind of did and a couple of things. So when we first started, one of the things that I have with what you can do is street teams. And so that's where New York City, we have a hub, right? We have subways all over the place, bus stations and all of that. And so wherever people would come out at, we would have people who would give flyers and say, here's our free classes, come, join. And we just pass them out and just do little street teams to do that. Have on special t-shirts so that they knew they were from the library and let people know. It's about letting people know that you do this stuff. Okay. Then we also do poster boards. So we do huge poster boards whenever we're running a particular program. We want people to see that the first thing when they come through the door, like, ooh, what's this new program that you're offering? If you're just putting it on a flyer and you stick that flyer with a million other flyers, chances are people are not going to see it. They're like, oh yeah, that same board, and they go past it. But now this big poster board that's in your face, you're like, what is this? Obviously, word of mouth is the same. Outreach we do kind of differently as well. How many of you guys are going to your hair salons, nail salons, laundromats? So we promote there too. All right, we get out, we ask, hey, can we put our flyer up? So now when they're folding the laundry and they have nothing to do, you know what they do? They read. I'm just sitting there doing nothing, and they'll read that flyer. And maybe they don't need to go, but maybe their mom needs to go. And so they'll tell that person who needs to tell that person. We already spoke about the separate web page. I told you about the graduations. At our graduations, so we actually do like a red carpet. We make it exciting and fun, and it's literally just a little cut off red carpet. And we have like a whole kind of backsplash thing that we use. But yeah, and people love that. They love the idea of we go to Staples, we buy some certificates. You completed our program. They love it. I'm telling you. And so do that, and you'll notice that more people will come. What are some other ways? Obvious ways that cost money, right? So try to get something on, for us it's New York One, I don't know what it is out here. Train stations. We did ATM toppers, you guys ever heard of that? So I don't know how it works out here, but we have local delis. Do you guys have local delis that people go to? Yes, kind of, sort of, okay. So wherever there was an ATM machine that was near a library branch, we would put our flyer, and it would just be an ATM topper. And literally, we would have people who would go in, they went to go buy a drink or whatever, and they would come around the corner and say, hey, I saw you have classes for such and such. And so that worked really well. We noticed that we got more people coming to the classes from that. That pictures the street teams, banner stands. How many of you guys have these? I love banner stands. So they're like floor to as tall as you can go. And they can just advertise whatever you want. So we started using them where we said free computer classes right at the door when people would come in. And it's just amazing that people are like, oh, you do free computer classes? Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why they knew that we had it. So now we're not actually saying it, they can just come in and see it. We also did the buses when we get money. We also would do radio if we could, local newspapers that are around your area. Once again, social media, everybody knows, throw some stuff up there. Try to be as creative as you can be with social media, but we try to do all that. And so I had spoke to you about patron stories. And so with patron stories, how many of you guys are doing that? Anybody? Can you just tell me an example of a patron story?
We've been doing paper launch, where it's a business startup.
Okay.
Started, and we've been working with them back and forth. We had patrons that they're going to start up that is actually working with Gail, Sungate.
Okay.
To actually produce a book for education and a full database system.
Perfect.
So.
Yep. So what we did as a library system is we started to promote library stories, not just for tech, but for like the entire system. So when people come in and they're doing that thing and it's amazing and they learn something, we started to do that. And so what happens is when government affairs might be going somewhere, there's an event, they're promoting something, they're trying to get money, people want to hear these types of stories. They want to see like, oh wow, how did it impact your life? We've had people who have come, they took our classes. So we had one person in a particular branch who came, took our Excel classes, got a job, and then gave us their first paycheck. Those are the types of stories that you want to hear about, but most of the time they come in my email box. So what did I do? I actually created an Excel spreadsheet that lists person's name, phone number, email, what it is that they wrote me about or what happened. And then I shared it with every single person on that buy-in list, like whoever could make an impact, whether that's marketing, government affairs, whatever the departments are that would want stories like that, so that they didn't have to come to me and say, hey Brandy, who did what? No, I've got it for you already. You have access to that. And so that's how we were able to get some of these stories here. So I'm just going to try to play one for you.
how to manipulate the code from Project Code. I wouldn't have been able to figure that out on my own. And I was able to take that and assimilate that as part of my training in dealing with clients. And I think that is the market of implementers and confidence that you can do this. And the fact that I am able to receive critique and criticism, I think that makes me very happy. And one of the guys from the class, about 2 months later, he called me and asked if I could help him build this site that he was working on. So I am now the web developer for Habitat Pro Association. It's an organization from Peru where they're helping indigenous folks, indigenous people keep their culture and their lands and want to create websites. Because I believe it's a form of creativity. I can't dance, I can't sing. That's my work of art. Websites are my work of art. My masterpiece.
So that's an example of one of our library stories. And you guys can do this. I mean, I've done some of the stories where I literally just had my iPhone with me and we were doing one of the programs and I just asked someone like, oh my God, this is great. Like they told me something that, happened. And I said, can I record you? And like, blah, blah, blah. And of course you get that form signed. You guys know that form. And we're able to use that. So those are some ways to actually take the stories and do more with it as well. So partnerships, building partnerships is another key thing for us. We have had, and I'll say this, that first one, U.S. Embassy of Athens, Greece, that partnership came because of Project Code. So people started hearing about Project Code, and I got an email from the U.S. Embassy of Athens, Greece, and they were like, we have some girls here who are doing this amazing stuff, and they're doing it with coding. Can they come to New York and like do some stuff with you? I was like, sure, we're working on some new stuff, have them come. And so they basically did an internship with us. We partner with other schools. So one of the main things that we're trying to do is help people with that job readiness, but we don't want to be the people that are like, yeah, we get you a job. No, we don't do that part. But we do help you to get there. And then we have organizations that we partner with where they can actually help them to get the job. Like that's part of what that organization does. So C4Q, Flatiron School, Full Stack, right? All of those schools help people to actually get real jobs. And so just by partnering with them, we are able to do that. Scratch, we started working with Scratch on a program. I don't know if you guys do it for anybody who works with kids, but it was called Hip Hop Scratch. And they were like using music to code. And so we did a whole like big program and that was great. And then now we're working with Attain Labs. So the Attain Labs is like a state program where they have all of these labs all over, but what they did that we don't do is certification, right? We don't give like certifications that they can go out and use somewhere, but they do. And so we partnered up with them and said, hey, we can promote this and we can have people come through and get them to help so they can come to your program and just take the test because they get money by how many people take the test and pass. Well, we can do that part. And so now people are able to actually get the fee waived to go take the test to be a Microsoft Office specialist in whatever topic they want. And literally that was just a phone call. It was me going through different organizations and saying, oh, let me try them. And who's the person here? And literally calling up and saying, hey, I think this might work, and speaking with them about it. Staying on the pulse. So one of the things that I try to do with our Tech Connect program is just to constantly innovate and do something out of the norm, but kind of keep people up to date with technology. Because, I mean, the main reason why they come is because they want to stay up to date. And so in New York, we've got a variety of people that are coming for all types of things. We've got the beginners, but then we also have the advanced people, the people that can't afford to necessarily go to the big fancy school that's going to teach them, per se, how to code. So what happened was, by taking a look at, oh my God, I keep hearing coding all over the place. Maybe we should do that. Okay. So who's doing it? Right? When you decide you want to do it, who's doing it? Find out who's doing it. What are some of the things that are preventing the people that want to do it from doing it? And so these were some of the things on the right-hand side. The cost. Most of them you have to go Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Well, how are they going to make their money? Like, what? That That didn't make sense to me. So we decided to offer a program. You come 2 times a week. You come for 2 hours, sometimes 3. And you do it over a 10-week period. And we'll teach you the beginner stuff. And that way, that helps them to, before I even spend $10,000, I know whether or not this is even something I want to do. Maybe it's too hard for me. Coding is not something that, you've got to want to do it. You know, people come through our program and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. Yeah, you might not want to do this for the rest of the year. Like, now you just wasted $10,000 and decided you didn't want to do it. So that's why we decided to launch it. When we launched it, I really was expecting, it's like, oh my God, I hope like we get like 25 to 30 people. I hope they show up. We only did a poster board, and it was word of mouth. I had 449 people show up. The line was out the door. I was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Right, great problem to have for a short period of time. But this is what showed up. We had them test in. 296 of those people passed. What was the test? Simple stuff. Can you get on the internet? They wanted to code, but you didn't know what a browser was. Like, so those are some of the, you know, the little things. Once again, we gave a handout, said take these classes. If you really want to get in this program, go learn this stuff, take our classes, right? So we're still promoting our own stuff, and then come back. So what is our graduation rate? So we love it because we have a high graduation rate. We also have 62% females coming to the classes, which is what got donors interested, which is what became popular about it. Because most of the time when you look at the tech field, it's dudes. Now it's gonna be us. So, so we had 62% female. The other thing is, I don't know about your libraries, but we do get a lot of older adults. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to have kind of every age range coming in the door. What can we do? What can we provide them that's gonna do that? And so people were going towards coding, and so that increased as well. We had 30% that were in the 26 to 35 range, which most of them, it was amazing. They came and they were like, this is the first time I've been in a library in years. So it was bringing people into the library. And that's one of the key things. You can put your flyers up in your branches, but who's seeing them? It's the people that already come to the library. You need the people who aren't coming in to come in. And then we were able to get all different types of backgrounds. We had someone who came 233 miles traveling to come to our classes. I got an email from someone who said, listen, I moved, you just accepted me into the program, but I'm willing to stay with a friend for the 10 weeks so I can go through the program. I'm like, okay, I'll try to get you in. But like, it was amazing to me that, you know, something that started out so small, people wanted it, was affecting their lives. And so that's why I say keep the pulse on what's happening out there. Try to jump on it. So then we started doing the graduations. This is one of the red carpets. We had little signs, we just got them printed up, little poster board signs. And then take that, and now you got another marketing tool. Like, you gotta keep thinking like the entrepreneurs out here. So we take that, then we'll tweet it, we'll post it. People are seeing, oh, people are graduating from what program? Oh, let me see, oh, this is at the library. And it just keeps cycling people in. And when I say cycling them in, I mean big time. I had a wait list of 5,000 people who wanted to get into Project Code. Like, we ran into the problem of, how do we have 100 seats a semester. How are we gonna do this? So what we started to do was to offer kind of one-off classes, just to gauge like if you're even interested in it, and offering some other languages. We also do open labs, we call them open labs, where people can come in, just sit there on a computer. You can use a computer and do a Linda on coding, but 5,000 people, like, we're not gonna get through all these people. So that's why I said it's like a good problem to have, but a bad problem too. And then keeping on the pulse, so then our mayor, he was like, oh, he wants all kids coding by blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, why wait? Let's just do it now. Like, we can do it, the library can do it. Yeah, they gotta go through a whole bunch of stuff to do it in the school, but we can do it. So that's what we did. And so we did, on the left are the people who won coder games. And so all we did was literally start up a program where kids can come in, they can learn to code games, and we had teens coming through the door, which was a problem that they were having in our library system. Getting to, you know, teens, they're not interested, they're on the phone, they're not interested in nothing no more. So we started saying, come in, create your own games. It was great. We had kids coming in, telling us the stories of the game and creating their own characters. And it started to launch their own creativity, and other kids heard about it and they wanted to join. Of course, we had food for them, you know, you can't have teen programs without snacks. But once again, something afterwards. So what we were able to do was, their games got entered into, there's a gaming competition for those who create games. And so it got into this national competition, and they were able to at least see their projects go somewhere, and they had the opportunity to win $1,000. In addition, we gave them the little medals that you see and the t-shirts. It doesn't take much, like kids are pretty good with things. And then on the right-hand side, so that was when we got teens. Then we said, well, how do we get the little kids? And so what we did was what we called a summer coding day. And we allowed children to come in, all age groups, and we just got a whole bunch of technology. How many of you guys know about Osmos? A couple people, right? So we got Osmos. We got just everything. Like, I can't even remember all the different types of things that we got. Makey-makeys, Lego We-Dos, right? And we just set up different stations. There's a website that we use where girls can like code their own emoji. And so like we did that, and it's basically, they built it like Scratch, where it's like you just drag and drop. And it was easy enough for people to come and do. We used Google CS First too. And so what we did was we had them go through stations. We created our own little like cards. And if you like went to like 4 stations and you had the little stickers that we printed up, then you got like a special backpack with goodies in it. And so that was a big hit. We had 300 kids show up to that. So what's next for us? Next is we're looking at AR, VR. Our motto is more people reading more, so we're connecting our books with, you know, what is going on within kind of all the branches. We're also doing internal collaborations with our own departments, so adaptive technologies for the blind, as well as our ESOL, partnering with them. We're doing informational sessions, right? When new things come out, you guys, you need to tap into it. How can you take that, right? Obviously, we can't do Alexa in the library, but you can talk about it, you can show videos, get them in tune, make sure that they're able to keep up. They're gonna want this stuff because they wanna know about it. Success, this is what it looks like, getting feedback. So, like I said, a variety of different ways, boast your numbers, use that data that you're getting from a lot of the things that you're using, whether that's assessments and things of that nature. And then lessons learned. These are some lessons that I learned. Trust me, get buy-in, get IT on board, things like that. That will help so much, upskill your staff. These are all things we just discussed. Don't be afraid to pilot stuff. And this is just kind of a reiteration of the things that I just went through. Okay, so this is really key. Go ahead and take a phone screenshot if you need to, because I'm about to click the screen again. But these are some of the things that I think you guys need to do. If you really want to build up a tech program, make it different, have people come out and do some big things. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Brandy and Monica. This was awesome. I want to invite both of you back up here if everybody would like to ask questions for a little bit. But I know I'm just so thankful for this. So can we get another round of applause? I'm going to go back to work today and I'm going to have so many ideas and everybody's going to be like, slow down. All right. It happens.
Thank you both. This is very interesting. Brandy, quick question for you. Have you all, since you are doing sort of the guided interactive assessments, have you all looked into solutions for actually allowing students to create profiles, track their progress through classes, suggest classes to them? Is that something that is on your radar?
Yes. It's something that I really want. It's something that I really want. But one of the problems, and I don't know if you guys have the same issue, is around privacy. And because our library system has so many privacy issues, it's something that we need the library to fix first, where there's some type of opt-in or opt-out.
and then we're able to do that. Because for us, if I could build off of people being able to go in and they have their own profile, they can see classes they've taken, see their assessment and their scores, like it would just, I've been trying to do it for a minute. At one point, it seemed like it was a go, and so I already did the RFP, and we got kind of 3 organizations that we thought were going to be the key ones. And then they got like a whole new team, and digital was like, wait, and so it never flourished. But I still have the info if you guys are looking for it, want some of that.
Any other questions? Come on, don't be shy.
Okay. Go here first and then to the back.
I just have a quick question for Brandy. How big is your staff? Because, we're talking about trainers, and it's obviously more than just trainers.
Yep. So how it works at NYPL, I have half of the staff that are indirect staff, so maybe about 100 people who are branch staff, who, check in books, check out all that type of stuff. So half of them do classes, and then I have kind of a team of about 15 people who also do classes, but they only do classes. So that's my team, right? Because when I hire, so my hiring process, I'm looking for people who can do a variety of different things. And so somebody on that team is either going to know graphic design, I need you to do this, and okay, so you guys build, like, you're teaching coding, so you need a website, do this. And so we're able to do stuff.
Okay, so I have a question. I have a lot of new teachers and we're teaching fun classes like Adobe After Effects, and we're having a lot of students that come in who cannot use a computer and mouse. And I really like the pre-test idea. Do you guys have any strategies or things that have worked to, maybe assess people before they get there, or ask them to, you would hate to ask anyone to leave, but I know that we're really kind of struggling with teaching these higher level classes to people who really are skipping the basics.
So one of the other hats that I wear is I'm the chair of PLA's New Digital Literacy Committee, and Susie is also on it. And one of the things that we're talking about with our committee is how do we provide some tools to librarians to do those kinds of competency checks on people. We also would love to use Articulate, but we can't afford it right now, but we're trying to see if as a committee, is there some kind of partnership that we could look into, maybe to get a reduced rate for libraries or something like that. So that's one of our many projects. But what happened, or how I kind of deal with it, is typically I get stuck, like that person self-selects into one of my classes, and again, experience level is subjective, right? So I think I'm competent even though I can't use a keyboard and a mouse, and now it's like, oh my gosh, really? Like, you need to click there, well, which button, So that's why I use volunteers in the classroom, because I'll station a volunteer with someone if I see that they're having trouble, and then if it reaches a point where they're being disruptive, we'll kind of have the volunteer say, you know what, let's set up a one-on-one with you after the class, let's find a convenient time, and let's go over the information again. Why don't you just watch what's going on and take notes for the remainder of the class? So I haven't fixed the problem yet of someone saying I'm competent when they're not, but we're on a larger scale trying to look at some tools and resources that we could provide to librarians to help with assessing competency on the front end.
So we do some of the same things, right? So we do set up a one-on-one. We have pages that sometimes are in other classrooms that can help. But I think some of it is going back to if you have a program, where she go? If you have a program where it's a program where you really need people to be at a certain level, you just have to not be afraid to say, okay, there's going to be like this little assessment at the beginning, and if they can't, it's not saying, oh, well, you can't do this. It's saying, here are the things I need you to get and nail before you can do this, and being comfortable with that. We thought when saying that we were going to have assessments for some of our classes, that people were going to be like, ooh, no, test it. But it's done nothing but help us.
I would like to see the hand of anyone who doesn't have a problem.
So that when she's talking.
For me, my SIP rate, I call it the SIP rate, is like 85%, which is pretty good. About 85% of our people show up for the classes. What gets challenging is if it's a series type of class where you really need them to go through and then they drop out after class 2. So I don't know if you have the problem, but dwindling attendance is more of an issue than initial SIP rates, because a lot of people will show up, but then, like in our case, we all live where it snows, right? It gets icy here. So it's like, didn't know there was a snowstorm, can't show up. So definitely I do lesser classes in the heavy snow months because I try to plan for weather. But some libraries have toyed with the idea of charging a fee that's refundable when you show up for the class. But in my community, that would prohibit so many people from coming that we haven't gone, kind of in that direction.
So yeah, we have that problem big time. There are a couple of things that we've done for that. And for us, remember, I'm talking about 89 branches. So you have some where we have registration online only, right? Those are our most popular ones. You have to sign up online, get somebody to do it for you, something. And that's how we do it. And that's usually not a problem depending on the class. People will show up just because they're so interested in the class. Then we started to do at certain locations where you either had to register by your phone or in person, they keep it cheap. And even then, right, it's still that whole process of people not showing up. And so with some of our classes, everybody isn't doing this, but with some of them, what we've done is we have strict policy. The problem is you got to stick with your policy. So we have a strict, okay, you're absent 2 times, or if you're late, 2 late, 4 absence, just like how they do in college. Like, then you're out. And being comfortable saying you're out. And that's sometimes part of the problem, right? So I'll give you an example. We had one of our instructors. She teaches our office readiness series. At the very beginning, if somebody came and they didn't show up 2 times or whatever, okay, you're done, you're out, she didn't have a problem with that. The problem came when we're in week 6, and like the personnel, and like, oh, but you're doing so well. Like, do you stick with it? Or do you let them slide? So it's about staying consistent. And if you can, then you'll have no problems with your policies. Once you start flubbing, and I know this because we have a problem patron that I am in legal with, because, well, this instructor did this, and let me do this, and so now because of the inconsistency, it makes it harder for us to then fight and say, well, this is what we said.
This is kind of a side note to no-shows, but so we require registration for all of our technology and computer classes. But lately, I've been having an issue where I'll get 1 or 2 people registering, and then all of a sudden, I'm dealing with 11 people, and I don't have an assistant, so I get spread pretty thin. Now, I have enough seats in the class for that, and I can pretty much handle it, but it's one of those situations where I don't want to turn people away, but I'm having difficulty communicating that registration is required, which means you have to tell me you're coming. But also, otherwise I only have 2 people in the class, and then there are, 8 people standing outside, staring through the glass, and that seems very counterintuitive to me. Do you have any particular responses to that, or strategies? Because I would really welcome the help.
So I know for us, one of the things that we did was starting a wait list. Do you already have a wait list?
I haven't done it in the past because people don't respond to it, but we can try again.
So I know for us, one of the things that we did was incorporate the wait list. But for those that are on the wait list, we say there's a high chance of you getting in if you're on the wait list. But if you have you didn't try at all to go online and register, you just can't get in. Once again, it's that whole, to get people to actually choose their behavior. But, the wait list kind of at least gives them an opportunity to say, well, there's a need to get in.
They're not registering at all.
We had the same problem here when I first came, and actually put, I thought it was clever, but, I don't know if it actually was, but I put a little sign on the door. We lock the classroom door at 7:10. We don't let anyone in if it's 7 o'clock class. And it's like, want to attend this class? Register online, and we put that on the door that is locked, and it says, sorry, no more entries, this class is already in session, and that stops that problem like that.
Okay, so I'm gonna try something else. And this is just off the top of my head, I don't know if it works, so just go with me. If you were to do something similar, we have to hold, then it'll just all be online, which is still be online. So if you were to have, say, an iPad or some type of station outside, where they still had to go in, and it forces them, like, I still haven't registered and get in class, that might make them change their behavior.
Yeah, and we allow 3 registration methods here because we have a community with low levels of digital literacy skills, so even though everything's available online, most of our people don't necessarily register that way. They see the newsletter come, and then they call, or they come down here. So that's kind of the way it rolls, and we also do a wait list just like Brandy, and we tell people the same thing. We force people to check in at our computer desk. They're not allowed to go into the classroom and just wander in there. They have to physically get checked in, or my team will follow them. Hi, can you come check in at the desk? So that at least helped us with our problem. I don't know what your community's like, but that's what worked here. Keep us posted on that work.
I think we can squeeze in one more question before we wrap up.
Hi, my name's Matthew. I'm with the Woodridge Public Library. We're a smaller library, and I'm new to the position. I'm a technology manager. I've been here for 6 months. And one of the issues I'm dealing with is fiefdoms. Fiefdoms. And we have one technology trainer. And I've been really taxed with trying to get her to write the curriculum, as you were saying, Monica, so that someone else could do it. To the point where I've even created what I call cheat sheets from everything from like the technology, like how to work the projector and the screen and everything. Because most of the staff fear her. They don't want, like, if she's not doing the class, no one else wants to step in. Even though I know several people in the adult department in particular are capable. Do you have any suggestions you can make to me for, because I have to walk on eggshells being the new person. How do I not offend that person and also engage the rest of the staff? In the private sector where I came from, I didn't have an issue. Because
I have the same background, and I have the same thing happen when I came here.
I just go to an outside source because I had the budget. I don't have the budget here.
Well, that can be tricky, and that goes up to the highest level of your organizational culture, which can be problematic because if you don't have support from above saying, this person needs to change their behavior, you have to try to manage them up. So I had some issues with our IT director when I came here because having worked for a software company, I was like this with IT all the time, right? I spoke IT and I knew what they were talking about, and everyone else here spoke librarian, right? So there was a disconnect and there was a lot of this going on. So I concentrated my efforts on building a relationship with that person. I did little things like I brought him brownies on his birthday. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I was bribing in some cases. I would go in and ask him questions that I kind of knew the answer to, but just to make him know that I valued his expertise. And then as we started developing that relationship, I started venturing into deeper territory with him and being like, he would vent to me about the staff, and I would be like, okay, well, why does that concern you? Maybe I can be your translator because I speak IT and library. Yeah, right, but I was saying, so I became the person who could kind of navigate both worlds, and then I started saying good things about him to the rest of the staff to try to have them give him a chance, and started sending him emails when he responded correctly to someone nice in a meeting. And so over time, that helped change his behavior and the perception that other people had, but it wasn't a quick and easy fix. It took a while and it took a lot of concerted effort on my part.
I guess if I can kind of elaborate into that, this is just me on top of it, again. But here's our, maybe there's a way that indirectly, so it sounds like they might not even have the confidence to feel like they can do the class. You know, you think they're confident, they might not have the confidence. And so how can you then have maybe at your team meetings, I don't know if you're doing team meetings yet, but if you are, start incorporating some of the tech classes in there, where they're actually learning something or doing something, and the more that they're able to feel confident about it, then maybe they don't mind. Also, I don't know how the structure is here. Are you guys union? No. Okay, so then that's great, because like we have a union in our union, so the union people, I can't say, oh, but it's in you go, and you gotta do this. But with the non-union, I can, and so we make certain things, certain goals. So like you have to teach it in classes, it's part of your goal for the year. And so it's either kind of, in my head, I would either try that, where in some way, shape, or form, they're like, you gotta get to that point, or try to bring it in where you're incorporating it into your meetings, and you're starting to do some of that stuff. Once you start building that confidence, then maybe it's okay to say, do a class or two, or be the coverage person, right? So build the coverage person into the goal. Like, okay, I'll be the coverage, and maybe you can alternate it around, right? So that not just one person feels like they have to do it. Try those before you, definitely wouldn't force someone to do it, just because that goes into their class.
And you might suggest our computer class instructors group to your person, your one tech trainer, and see if they'd be willing to come, because maybe there's some kind of internal issue they're having that you don't even know about, and maybe just by meeting some peers and being able to talk through some of the frustrations or whatever, maybe we could be a support.
Yes, I want to see a large record. Then 6 months and I'm worth 3 cycles. The exact same office hours, the exact same. There's no reason they can't
Offer more.
offer more.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, open house. Contact either one of us if you need help.
Come up with some more ideas, some other things. Sure, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff.
So thank you guys again for coming. Please keep your eye out for more LACONI Tech Section events, including that Technology Unconference on May 11th. And let's please extend another warm thank you to Brandy and Monica.